I was born in Newark and we moved to Maplewood very early. And my mother tells me that when I was about 3, I won an art contest in the Newark Evening News, for coloring, I guess. My mother was an artist, so I was influenced by art from an early age on. And I was thinking about this, and I think that my biggest art activities were making paper dolls and dresses and designing dresses. I had applied to the Newark Arts High to go there. And what turned me away was the man who was interviewing me asked if I would be willing to model. And I wasn't. I wanted to become a sister in high school, but my parents were not, they weren't convinced I should do it then. Eventually they gave me permission to come to Caldwell to enter here, and I was only in 3rd year high school. Then when I entered the novitiate, I thought I would be going on in art, and decided then I would do only religious work, which, you know, in your youth, you are filled with enthusiasm for what you are doing. I loved biology, and Sister Carmel was the professor at that time. And noticing my drawings in biology, she told the sisters in charge of the community that I should be going on in art. Caldwell didn't have the art major, so I went to Fordham to build up my art minor. English became my major and art my minor. I was going to Columbia, and I took history there, art history, and printmaking, and lithography. And while there, the Archbishop of New York gave an order for the communities in his diocese to go to Catholic colleges. Maybe he didn't want them in non-Catholic colleges. So I had to leave Columbia and decided on my own that Notre Dame was the place to go. In 1954, I worked and finished my major in Masters of Art. For my thesis then, I did a lettering piece. When I finished the Masters, I decided I'd like to go on for my Masters of Fine Arts, which is the terminal degree for a studio degree. And I went back to Notre Dame, worked with Anthony Lauck, Constantin Milanatis, welding, the sculptor, and Waldemar Otto from Germany, who also was in sculpture. Sculpture was one of my favorites, especially carving. I came here in '63 to the college, and the students I had in painting class wanted to have a degree and get their degree in art. So I went to the dean, and she agreed that they would apply to have a degree in art if I could get 4 students who were interested. Well, we had 5. And so the first graduates got their degree in '66. And from then on, we strengthened the department, and the student center was built, and we were able to move there and build up a number of courses.
When I arrived at Caldwell College in 1971, my freshman year, there was no Bachelor of Fine Arts program here at the college. It was strictly a BA or a BS in your chosen field. By sophomore year, I had approached Sister Gerardine in the art department here and asked her why we did not have a Bachelor of Fine Arts program and what would it take to get one here.
So I began building up listings of what we would have to do, and Joanne was dean at that time and worked with me, and we went together to Trenton to defend this. We also had a professor sent by Trenton from Yale, Dr. Reed, who came, inspected our program, spoke with all of us to see if we would be able to continue this and it wouldn't be just a half-baked thing. So he was pretty stringent, but agreed at the end that we had what it takes.
So by our senior year, many of us were lucky enough to be told that that was indeed going to be happening, but we needed to work harder and get more classes under our belts so that we could proceed into the Bachelor of Fine Arts department, because BFA requires many more courses.
It's a strong program, and it demands a lot from the students. They have to do a strong thesis, and I believe it has stood a good scrutiny and provided a number of students with what they needed for their life work.
We were very thankful for Sister and leading the entire department team and college into the forefront of being the only private Catholic institution in the state of New Jersey to offer a Bachelor of Fine Arts in 1975. One of Sister Gerardine's favorite mediums to work in is calligraphy. I was fortunate enough to take her classes when I was here on the campus, and her joy for the letter is beautiful. She can make any letter be anything. It could be an entire story on just the letter A. And we were fortunate enough to learn some illumination with her, which is the decoration of a letter. And she has taken that gift and done many, many wonderful things.
I didn't have any formal lettering course. I taught myself and did a lot of practicing, and it became my favorite expression in art.
Sister had brought in a book that she had done I believe it was for the vows that the sisters took. It was on vellum, and it was all illuminated. It was painted. The letters were gilded, and there was little illustrations in it, and it was bound in leather on this beautiful vellum. And I just was blown away with the beauty of this small book. And I just had a passion for this ever since.
One of the wonderful gifts that she shares with many friends and family over the years is her gift of a Christmas card. Each one hand done by her with beautiful lettering, illumination, collage, montage, metal work. They're just magnificent little gems that she sends as a gift from herself to all of us every year. My husband had completed some compositional work, and we needed album covers of these sacred works. 3 lovely illuminated album covers for the works Resurrexy, Crucifixus, and Nativitas. One of the areas that Sister Gerardine excels in is stained glass. Her talent for drawing and detail and design overall come into play in the execution of the beautiful stained glass work that she has done over the years. Some of the beautiful work is local to our campus. Other pieces of stained glass are in other countries, and some are just down the road at St. Teresa's Mausoleum in Summit, New Jersey, of St. John of the Cross, the Risen Lord, and St. Teresa of Avila.
I got into stained glass by accident. Well, when I was at the academy, I was told to design the windows for our infirmary. In 1976, the year of the bicentennial, a bishop from Ecuador came to offer Mass, and when he saw the windows, he wanted to meet me, and he inquired how he could get the paints to put on the glass in his cathedral, which was on the edge of the Amazon. And I said, "You can't do that. That would be fake. I'll come and do it." And I laughed. And Sister Vivian was Major Superior at that time, and she said, "You know, that's not far-fetched. You're planning on a sabbatical coming up." So with that, I was visiting Dr. Frank up in Warwick, and I said to him, I told him what was coming, and he said, "You must go to the best, Albinus Elskis." So he gave me his phone number, and Albinus was probably the foremost stained glass artist who did the work. And he owned a stained glass studio in New York. So I made arrangements with him, and I went over to New York from January to May, and learned how to work with glass, with painting on glass and firing. And in the meantime, I got the measurements and the type of design the bishop wanted, and I worked on that and began around May cutting the glass and finishing that summer, painting, firing. Then I wrapped all the pieces separately, about 5 in a little pack, and packed them in a wooden crate and sent them down by plane, Braniff Airlines, and I followed in November, beginning of November. From November 2nd to December 8th, I put the glass together. I had a ping pong table up in the choir loft of his church, and we got a local mortar man to put the windows up. We had a scaffolding of pine trees and old doors. We got the main window with 5 narrow windows installed. And that was the beginning of my career in stained glass, as much as I preferred the illumination that seems to have taken over. The library of the college was built when Sister Vivian was president, and she was talking about the windows in the clerestory. The third one is done on heavy paper, and that's cut apart, and then you use that as templates to cut your glass. And when all of that, the glass is cut, then you start building from the corner. The lid is called the cane, and you start building from here. And every now and then I have lead that has a heart, a steel heart, that will give support to it so it won't collapse. The next step I will do is scrape this down with a wire brush, and put oleic acid on each of the joints, and then my soldering irons are over there, and I solder it. Then you put in your putty all over, and the putty really is what gives it strength. I ended up doing my thesis in mosaics, and those are the mosaics in the student lounge now. I just had to do one, so I did the other 6. There were 6 altogether. For example, to do these 2 sculptures, whenever something came along that needed an artist, I was able to do it. One day, Sister Nora, who was in charge, the counselor in charge of that, said to me, would I do a tabernacle? And I said, you've got to be kidding. I said, there's a catalog with 300 beautiful tabernacles in. But it went around in my head that whole night. All I could hear was the hymn, Holy, 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 and the angels falling down adoring me. And I could just feel a sweeping movement up. So that next morning, I went to her and I said, I'll do it. So I went down to my studio and worked on designs of the tabernacle that would sweep up. I got in touch with a wood carver who had done some work for us. He was an elderly man, Louis Steidel, who lived out towards Mawa. I gave him the size of the doors that would come to meet in the middle. And he spent about 2 hours. We were going over all these requirements that I would have for this tabernacle. And he said it's the first time he had to work from the doors to the cabinet, instead of the cabinet to the doors. But in about 2 weeks, he came back with the basic woodwork and then took it back to refine it. But he was marvelous. Well, I was fortunate in that all my old copper enamel glass powders had lead, and they fused beautifully. They had beautiful colors, better than the recent stock. That was completed about 2 years ago and installed permanently. It's screwed to several bases. It's a high point in the chapel, in the same chapel that has the stained glass windows.
She was a very quiet type of teacher. She was, and I called my fellow graduates, and we all came up with the same thing, that saying that she was very positive in everything that she taught you. She gave you the basics, and she gave you the opportunity to be the artist that you wanted to be. And she allowed you to grow in your own way.
One of the things I am very grateful for is that both the college and Sister Gerardine stressed individuality and celebrated it.
Her inspiration and her positive thinking and her encouragement was invaluable, always was, and she's just a very, very special, wonderful woman. And I thank her.
Sister Gerardine was probably, she really was my mentor, and she really was my favorite teacher of all time. So when I think about of all of the teachers I've ever had, Sister Gerardine was my very favorite.
I think my relationship with Sister Gerardine expanded more actually after graduation, where it just proves that once you're a Caldwell College girl, you're always a Caldwell College girl. You have a family for life, friends for life, that if you do need support or help, there's always a place to go to.
She was my teacher. She also was a colleague in the art department. And I had the privilege of working with her closely in winding up the BFA program while I was the dean.
She's just a very inspiring, positive, wonderful person. You know, even to this day, I have openings for, I have exhibitions, and she comes, and some of the other sisters come, and it just makes everything that much nicer.
Sister Gerardine was just a bundle of energy, and I was afraid to take her calligraphy class, and I really should have taken that class because my husband tells me that my handwriting is really terrible. So I should have taken that class, but I had heard a story that Sister used a magnifying glass when she looked at the letters, and that terrified me. So I couldn't take that.
She became a part of our lives, and it was just like a big happy family. We would sit around the drawing table, and we would sit with coffee and desserts, and it was like she gave us more than just an education. She gave us life skills and help us to be the women of the future, to be our future teachers and future artists, to give us the ability to say, yes, I can do it, and I can go out, and I can be who I want to be. She empowered us.
Knowing my own problems in getting the background you needed for an MFA, you have to have a certain amount. You would have to have the equivalent of the BFA. And I wanted my students to have that richness, to have that background, so that if they wanted to go on, they would be prepared. And they were interested.
The experience that I had at Caldwell College gave me the stepping blocks and structure that have brought me to the present point of my career in art.
We had printmaking, painting, lettering, ceramics, metalwork, all of that in the small classrooms we had in the Raymond Hall.
Well, we had two small rooms, or one small drawing room and then one large studio, and we were all in just those two rooms. So we got very close with the people that we all went to school with, so we formed very strong relationships.
The art department was just beginning to grow. As Doreen said, we were the first class to go into the new wing of the art department. It was expanding slowly. All the professors there were absolutely lovely, and we were one big family.
Then with the new building, We had about 5 classrooms, 6 classrooms, and a variety of courses going on all the time.
The basic classes were just such a good structure, and I tell people these days, artists that are emerging, who have not had classes in art, to get the basic structures of things and to learn every detail you can, just like Sister would teach you every single detail of how to go forward.
This college was really very blessed to have had her all those years. And we were really blessed. Anyone who went through the art department under her guidance was really blessed.